Hey there, I'm Shannon. Welcome back to my channel. I'm going to talk about my experience doing the Dopey challenge in Walt Disney World today. So I'm going to talk mostly about what my experience was doing the challenge. So things like merchandise, package pickup, the races, kind of what my experience was, not necessarily as much about preparing for the Dopey challenge. So if you have questions about that and you'd like to see a video about that, feel free to drop in the comments below and I'll make a video about how I prepared for the Dopey challenge, kind of like my tips going from kind of couch to Dopey. Even though I used to be a fairly good runner, I would say that I went basically come from like 0 to Dopey in the span of about 7 months or so. But I digress. If you don't know what the Dopey challenge is, the Dopey challenge takes place in Walt Disney World in Florida, and it is a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, a full marathon on 4 consecutive days at an ungodly hour. That's the worst part of Dopey. Honestly, that is the worst part of any of the races, is what time you have to wake up and race at. Now, anyways, I digress. I'll get to it. So that is what the Dopey challenge is. And the Dopey challenge is when you do all 4 consecutive races and you finish all of them, you also get 2 additional medals. You get the Goofy medal. And so the Goofy challenge is when you do the half and the full marathon. And the Dopey challenge is when you do all 4, you get the Dopey medal as well. So this is the Dopey medal. And I'll post a picture of kind of what all the medals look like. But honestly, that's probably the biggest reason to do a Disney race, is because the medals are amazing. If you're a big, Disney super fan, obviously that is one reason why you'd want to do a challenge as well. Oh, the other thing you get for finishing the marathon is you get these eaters. Check these guys out. So anyway, also kind of like a cool little perk of doing the marathon anyways. And I feel like if you can do the marathon, you can do all the other races. So let's start off with kind of even before the races, you need to go pick up your package and things like that. If you're a big Disney fan, you're probably going to want to hit the merchandise. So all of the merchandise, the package pickup, all that stuff happens at the ESPN World of Sports. Now, they're in kind of separate areas. You kind of have to walk between all of them. But if you are interested in Disney merchandise, such as this Spirit jersey that I picked up, then you're going to want to be there early. We were there relatively early, not super early. If I were by myself, I probably would have gotten there earlier. 10 after 10, we lined up at 9:30.
Well, we were in line at 9:30 already.
Yeah, I feel like we kind of like got into line around 9:30.
Yeah, shortly before.
10:26, and we've made it to the other lineup now. Just this many people to go. Would you say we're halfway in our second half of the line?
Yeah, maybe just over half.
Yeah, and it's 10:41. What do you think? 11 o'clock?
We're moving again.
It moves a lot when it moves. So I think they let like quite a few people in when it does move.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll check back in when we actually get to go in. Thank you. By the time we got in there, I would say that a lot of the sizing of the more popular items, like this guy here, the Spirit jersey, some of the jackets and things like that, pins were especially popular as well. Those things got sold out pretty quickly. So if you have your heart set on something, get there early. So that's the merchandise. And then separate to that is the package pickup. Package pickup for the Dopey and the Goofy challenge is in a separate area than if you are just running the 5, the 10, the half, or the full, or a combination of those that isn't a challenge race. So what was nice is that as you go up, you show your ID, you hand in your waiver. Canadians can't do the digital waiver. When you go, they then give you your race bibs. So for the challenge, you get 2. One you wear for the 5 and the 10. The other one you wear for the half and the full. Pro tip actually is I ordered these bib boards. So these guys here, they just snap on and off. And these are definitely way better than pins for sure. And of course, what's also awesome is that you can order ones that are Disney themed. on here, there was a little tearaway form. You go over to your shirts. They have all of your shirts all kind of put together in your Run Disney bag. So if you are doing bag drop is when you, let's say you want to change of clothes or shoes or whatever after the race and not, you want it there. You put them in this bag, you drop them off, and then you can pick them up afterwards. To give you an idea of what the shirts look like, these are the race shirts. They're long sleeves. So this one is the half marathon one. And there's a lot of talk in some of the different Facebook groups I'm in about the quality of them and the cost, saying that Disney races are too expensive, blah, blah, blah. Regardless if they are too expensive or not, I'd say they're basically on par with races of that caliber. So races that are larger races, where you get a shirt, a nice medal, those are like... Half marathons and marathons are expensive to do, to be honest. There's also a lot of talk about the quality of the shirts, and I'm not upset about the quality of the shirts. I think that they're fine, to be honest. I have another business where we have to, we make shirts for our merchandise, so for our CrossFit gym. And I'll be honest, printing this many colors is super expensive. Now, I know Disney, they don't have to pay kind of what I pay because of their sheer bulk, and they probably have their own screening and printing. It still doesn't mean that it's like super cheap to do when you have multiple colors and you're screening in multiple places. All of that stuff takes more time and it takes more money, even if you do it in-house. So I don't know, like the quality of the shirt, I think is fine for what it is. Like the stitching might not be perfect. It's just a race technical shirt, but I've done some races before where what I get is like a Hanes, like it feels like denim. It's so heavy cotton shirt. So I don't know, I'm quite happy with the shirts. I'll wear them again. And I think that they'll be just fine. In fact, they're no different than the shirts that I have from 2008, I would say. And those ones are still fine as well. So I don't know, there's some complaints about it. I think it's fine. Maybe you don't, and that's okay. So the other area that you might want to check out when you go and pick up your package or look at the Run Disney merch is the Expo area. So this is kind of where everything else is. So if you're looking at picking up a new headband or maybe a running skirt, or you forgot some shoes, or you want to look at recovery tools, there's shoe vendors, that's kind of all within the Expo area. If you're running the 5, the 10, the half or the full, that's also where you're going to go and pick up your race shirts. So your bib is in a separate building, and then you walk over to the Expo area, and that is where your race shirts are. And so, I didn't really check out the Expo too much because I knew there wasn't really anything I wanted or I was looking for. I did stop at Ultra because that's a shoe brand that I like to wear for running, to see if they had any specials on the model of shoe that I like, and they didn't have any. So that's kind of Run Disney merch. I picked up 3 things for myself. I picked up the Run Disney Spirit jersey, a hoodie, and I also got a mug. The next part is the races. So I was with 2 other people. My husband was supposed to come. He wasn't able to make it, but I was the only one that was doing all 4 races. So I was the only one doing Dopey. My husband was going to do the 5 and the 10, and my sister and her friend were going to do the 10K. And so honestly, the hardest part about doing Dopey was getting yourself up in the morning. That was what I was I was slightly concerned about the marathon as well. That's separate. But of the whole Dopey experience, what I was most concerned about was either sleeping in or not wanting to get up. So, waking up to my alarm and, my brain telling me that I was like too tired, too sore, or whatever. So that was the thing I was most worried about. And actually, the day that I was most tired was actually the 10K day. The other days I was pretty okay. Half marathon day, I was okay. Marathon day, I was okay. And then 5K was the first day. And, it's only 5K. So, you're kind of out there and done, and then you can, carry on with your day. If you are considering signing up for a Disney race, just know that you are going to get up at an ungodly hour in order to get yourself to the start line. So the races start at 5 a.m., except for the Springtime Surprise. There are some races that start in the evening of that one, which is 10 p.m., which is, okay. I'm like in bed by 10 p.m., but whatever. Let's talk about Dopey. Races start at 5 a.m. But in order to get there before the road closures and get to your start corral and all that sort of stuff, the buses, if you take a Disneyland or if you're staying at a Disney World resort, they have busing, and the busing only runs for a certain amount of time before the road closures and things like that. So I got up around 2:30, 2:45 every morning and then got myself out the door, caught the bus for like 3:15 a.m., which is pretty early considering you are going to sit on the bus for about 15 to 30 minutes depending on kind of like where you are, what the traffic is like. And then you have to walk about a mile or more to your start line depending on which race you're doing. If you're doing Dopey, the 5 and the 10 are a lot closer. The half and the full, I felt like we walked for a couple of miles, to be honest, before we hit the actual corrals. And then you're going to wait in your corral. And so one of the things that I did was after the 5 and the 10, I kept the space blanket that they give you, right? The race blanket that helps keep you warm or whatever. I kept those and I took them with me the next morning to keep me kind of warm. And then I put them on the concrete to sit on because you're basically standing around in a parking lot for a bit of time. Even though the race starts at 5, I was in corral S4, which is kind of the middle corral. There's 6 corrals now, and I probably didn't start until about 5:30 to 5:45. They started us pretty quickly the marathon morning because it was going to be pretty warm that day and they wanted everyone to get out as soon as possible. But just know that you're still, even though the race time starts at 5, it's a staggered start. So all the wheelchair athletes go, and then and then they slowly release people. And even within your corral, they are going to release people staggered within your corral. So just be prepared that you're going to wait for a while. Let's talk about the race course. So their motto is every mile is magic. And although there is a lot of magic at Disney, I would not agree that every mile was magic. There were miles that were magical, and then there was miles that were just plain or not magical. They do a pretty good job of having things interspersed throughout the race courses to keep you interested. So yes, depending on the races, you go through the different parks. On the marathon, you hit all of the parks. You start at Epcot, you go to Magic Kingdom, you run down to Animal Kingdom, over to Hollywood Studios, and then back to Epcot. So that is pretty cool. There's lots to see. They have a lot of character stops along the way. I personally didn't stop at a lot of the character photo opportunities. I took a couple of selfies, but I didn't stand in line for the photo pass people. There just weren't any ones that I just loved that much. They also have a lot of other entertainment along the way. So they have singers and dancers and cheerleaders, lots of different things. So in the marathon, there were drummers in different areas, and there was the Polynesian dancers, and yeah, so there was lots to see and do. But there's also some things that are maybe not great about the race course. And so here's the things that I don't personally love about the race course. In any race that is that long, you're gonna run on roads. That's just the long and the short of it. It's just something you have to accept. So I'm okay with that. What I don't love, and I don't think there's anything they can really do about it, is just the way that the roads are constructed, is my body doesn't love running on a grade. So, an overpass is graded so that rain will run off and not pool and things like that. And so for me, my body just doesn't love being uneven like that. And that's just kind of the reality of it for me. So I just don't love that. There were some areas that were pretty congested, I would say. So there were some paths that we ran on where walkers didn't always get over. I will say that for the most part, in all of the races that I've done, people who are walking or run walking for the most part were pretty good. Not 100%, but I've been in races where things were way worse, where people didn't understand the etiquette of either putting up your hand if you're gonna start to walk from running, or making sure that you move to the side to get out of the way of runners so that the people who are running have a lane that they don't have to zigzag through people. I find walkers get a bad rap, but one of the things I found was actually some runners who were a little bit faster, who were zigzagging. I found those people to be a little bit more, I'm gonna say it, offensive versus the walkers. I did find for the most part people were pretty good, but there were a couple of times where there was somebody who either stopped for a character picture, right, and then they like took off, or maybe they got put in a later corral that they didn't love, and so they were faster than those people and they got annoyed with it or whatever. But I found those people to be a little bit more rude, to be honest, of just like in and out of people. And those are the people that I found that like almost tripped me up, like almost put me in risk of injury. I would say probably they just need more corrals, and they need a better way for people to actually submit their times to be put in the proper corral. I think where I was an appropriate spot, I would say, for kind of the pace that I kept. Overall, I'm super happy I signed up for it. I'm glad I'm done though. My body just has never loved the marathon distance. Even though I used to do ultra marathon, I feel like that's different. My body has always liked the half distance, and so now I'm really motivated to get faster at the half again. So previous to this, my PR was an hour 31, which is pretty fast for kind of the average person. I don't think I'll ever get back there again, but I would like to comfortably be able to run like a 1:45 to 2 hour half marathon again. That's my new goal. I would really love to do Wine and Dine in November, which is a 5, a 10 and a half marathon. I think that sounds like a reasonable amount to do, and I don't have to worry about the marathon distance anymore. I know people say never, but I don't know if I'll ever do a marathon again. It's a lot of training. And that's the biggest thing about a marathon is it's not the actual marathon day. It is the weeks of training leading up to the marathon so that you have a good race. And honestly, I couldn't believe at how good I felt. I honestly was not really sore at all from after the races. I was shocked actually at how good I felt. So I'm pretty happy with how the training went and stuff like that. Like I said before, if you're interested to know about kind of like how I trained and how I adapted the training to suit my needs and stuff like that, I'm happy to talk about it. Feel free to drop it in the comments. If you have any other questions about the, Dopey or running or anything like that, again, let me know, hit me up in the comments, and we'll see you next time. Peace.